Welcome to your weekly UAS news update. This is the week of August 30th, 2021. This week we've got a lot of topics actually, there's a lot going on. And the first thing we're going to talk about is a new event from DJI that's right around the corner that's kind of cryptic, and we'll talk to Haya from DroneXL about this and kind of see what kind of information he has. We'll also talk with Haya about some pictures from the Mavic 3 that were leaked. If it is a Mavic 3. We're still not sure at this stage, but this is our best guess. The next thing we'll talk about is Hurricane Ida that is currently hitting the southern portion of the country in the southeast and doing a lot of damage. And there is some information from the FAA if you want to help with your drone. And then also, we will talk about some upcoming industry events. There's a lot going on in the next couple of weeks, and then a lot of things that we are involved with. And then lastly, a Pilot Institute update, actually several updates, pretty major updates from Pilot Institute. So I'm really excited about this. So let's get to it. All right, and the first story this week comes from our friends at DroneXL, and we have Haya with us as always. Haya, welcome to the show.
Greg, thank you for having me again.
So a lot of stuff going on in the news this week, especially from DJI. And the first thing is, I think it was yesterday or the day before, we received an email saying there's a new event coming up. It's called Hi5, Hi as in Hi, hello, and then 5 as is the number 5. There's been a lot of rumors online that I've been reading. Some people say it's the new Phantom 5, and some people say it might be an Osmo coming around the corner. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, DJI tweeted out this message, and it shows basically a blue background, kind of like a sky background with a floating cube, semi-translucent, with a number 5 spinning inside. And it says DJI Hi5, September 8th, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, the whole idea, of course, with the sky in the background and something up in the air might suggest that this is a new drone, and a number 5 might indicate that it will be the Phantom 5. However, as much as we would all like to see a new Phantom 5, I think people hoping for that drone to appear are going to be disappointed. I think it's going to be something else. It's a cryptic image. There's not really much that you can make out of looking at the announcements. If you go through the product line, it wouldn't make sense for the new Mavic 3 because that's not a number 5. That will be a number 3. The Phantom would fit, but I don't think it's going to be a Phantom. So you can basically work your way down the line. I think the biggest clue that we've seen is in a FCC filing that was made public for a OM5. So we're not sure if that's going to be the product that will be launched on September 8th, but I mean, at least we know that a new version of the OM4, the OM5 now, is going to be in the works and will be launched at some point in the near future. So as much as I would like to see a Phantom 5 from DJI, I doubt that's going to be the case with this one.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it would have been leaked all over the place anyway if it was the Phantom 5. And OM4, by the way, for those of you that are watching not familiar with that product line, Osmo Mobile, which is a portable device that stabilizes a cell phone that you can put on here. So hopefully, I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure that's what it is. Now, there were some other things, that's more on the rumor side rather than the confirmed from DJI, from the Mavic 3. What did you find out? I know there was a lot of pictures on DroneXL, and we'll put a link down to the article right here if you want to click on that as we talk about it.
Yeah, it might be interesting to show some of these graphics. Drone Modelismo, a guy in Brazil, actually a pretty well-known YouTuber down there, was able to get photos of the Mavic 3. However, in being able to publish them, they had to be changed. So he couldn't show the actual photos, so they made kind of digital sketches from them. But they're pretty high detail and definitely clear enough to make out what this new Mavic 3 might look like. I'll run you through the specs real quick. As we have seen with the DJI Air 2S, you have those obstacle avoidance sensors kind of pointed at the corners of the drone. We're apparently going to see that with the Mavic 3 as well. In these sketches, you'll see that there are no sensors for obstacle avoidance on the side of the drone, purely at the front and the back. So if you use wider angle lenses basically for these sensors, you might be able to still provide 360-degree obstacle avoidance with fewer sensors, reducing cost, reducing weight, and especially weight, of course, is a big thing for drones. That seems to make a lot of sense. I mean, it would be it would make sense for DJI to use that technology. The Mavic 2 Pro and Zoom have 360-degree obstacle avoidance, so we would definitely expect to see the same capability in the Mavic 3, and I think this will be a very smart way to achieve that. If we move on to the camera itself, Drone Modelismo tells that we're going to see a dual camera setup. It's still going to be Hasselblad branded. We don't know if it's just going to be color science or whether this time there's actually more Hasselblad technology built into the camera. A dual camera setup is something we spoke about in the past as well, because you see it on a lot of smartphones. So to see that compact design make its way to drones, I think makes a lot of sense. You and I have spoken about interchangeable lenses or even fast zoom lenses. I think in general a fast zoom lens would be probably too heavy and too expensive perhaps to build into a drone. Interchangeable lenses is of course great, but then you would have to come back down with the drone, switch lenses out and then send it back up in the air if you want to change your field of view. Having a dual camera setup similarly to what we see in smartphones, I think would probably be the way to go. What we're not quite sure here is that Drone Modelismo is saying we're going to see a 7 times zoom, optical zoom, I would imagine, for the top camera, or the top camera. Then the lower one would be 5.7K video recording capabilities, 24mm field of view and a aperture of f2.8. Now this is interesting because on the previous Mavic 2 Pro we've seen a variable aperture, so to see a fixed one of the successor I don't think will make a lot of sense. Maybe we just know that the widest opening is going to be 2.8. I would expect it to be a variable one. I would hope it's going to be faster than 2.8 so that we get better low light performance. I think that would be amazing.
But if if you think about it, when that person saw the drone, I'm sure they saw a prototype of some sorts, and we know there are markings on the lens that tell you the lower number. It doesn't always tell you that there's a full range. So it could be that there is actually a range, but not something that was visible from the outside of the drone in itself. So I'm hoping. I don't think any professional is going to settle for something that doesn't have a variable aperture. I know I wouldn't. If it's a pro level, it's got to have variable aperture.
It wouldn't make any sense for this drone not to have a variable aperture. Like you said, I mean, most people care about how wide the aperture will go because that determines your low light performance. How small it can go is always less of a concern, I think, for most people. This guy also pointed out that there's going to be a 16mm adapter that you kind of click onto the lens. We've seen that with some cameras as well. I know there's a Fuji camera where you can screw on the lens to get a wider angle. I don't know if that will make a lot of sense. I mean, if you look at Apple's iPhones, they're able to cover quite a wide zoom range just by using different lenses, and there's nothing that needs to be snapped on. To have something that you have to snap onto your drone camera, I think is not ideal. I would hope that they figure out a way to make it all built in. I think that the dual camera setup makes a lot of sense, and I would not be surprised to see something like that on a Mavic 3.
Any indications on flight time?
Yeah, I was just going to go there. I mean, we know the Evo 2 drone from Autel has a 40 minutes flight time, a very heavy battery that even impacts the way the drone flies. I think DJI is going to try and match, if not outperform the Evo 2 in this regards, hopefully with better flying capabilities. Drone Modelismo says it's going to be at least a 40-minute flight time, which I think will be amazing. I mean, we know from first responders that flight time is one of the key features they look for in a drone. Personally, I love it when you're able to fly that much because you can position your drone and take different shots and not have to worry so much about the battery life and then still be able to just fly and focus on actually getting the shot or the video. The battery will be mounted from the back, the same way basically as we've seen with the Mavic, the Mini 2 and the Mavic Mini. I think that will make a lot of sense as well. And furthermore, what else did he say? ProRes recording capability for the video recording, a gimbal with a locking feature, and that may mean that we don't get that plastic cover anymore. I think the locking feature makes sense.
Yeah, they've done it with the Ronin S. It has a little click to lock the gimbal, so why not? It would make a lot of sense. I like the cover to protect the lens in itself, not so much the gimbal, but man, these covers are a pain in the butt to put on and remove. So if we can get away from that would be awesome.
I think so too, and I've seen plenty of photos and videos of people flying DJI drones leaving the cover on, not knowing that that's something that needs to be removed. So if we can do without a cover and still have that lens protected, that would be great. Furthermore, he says that the Mavic 3 will get the same remote controller we've seen from the Air 2S, where you mount the phone on top rather than below. I think that's great. I mean, it's a bit more bulky than the older remotes, but it's a lot cleaner, and yeah, gives you a much better range with OcuSync 3.0.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this? So that controller came originally, if I'm not mistaken, with the Air 2 before the Air 2S. It went from the Air 2, it went to the Mini 2, and then it went to the Air 2S. Well, the interesting part is that the Air 2S and the Mini 2 both have a different mode on the front of it than the original Air 2. And so DJI had to manufacture two different sets of labels, at least, that they put on the front. And then it's been reported by our students that the new generation of Air 2 have the same controller as the Air 2S. So I'm sure there is something with DJI trying to just produce one controller and trying to get, you know, all of the drones using the same controller, which would make sense, quite frankly. Having a different controller for each drone is just kind of too much from a production standpoint. So it would make sense that all of the new drones that we see have the same shape, you know, form factor and the same controller. So
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the only downside I can see is when you buy a Mini 2 for travel purposes and you want something super small and lightweight that you can travel internationally with and just throw it in your backpack, maybe a smaller controller then would make sense. But I think from DJI's point of view and from a production point of view, to have one controller that flies all DJI drones, I think makes a ton of sense. And we've kind of seen that already with the original DJI Smart controller, where you can kind of flip through different options and fly different drones. So you have one controller that manages a fleet. I think going forward we're going to see more of that. Drone Modellismo also says that we're going to see a new DJI Smart controller, which would also make a lot of sense because the original, as nice as it is, the internal components are pretty old and make it much slower than it could be. So I think an upgrade there would make sense as well.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, the fact that the smart controller is overdue anyway. So, and you know, when Hotel is making this beautiful, large smart controller, I wonder if DJI, I mean, the size of the smart controller from DJI is about the size of the actual screen on the Hotel smart controller. That's how big it is. Maybe something in between, quite frankly. I know the price on the Hotel one is pretty steep at $1,200, but quite frankly, I mean, I love my smart controller. I have so many DJI devices that I can take one controller, control all the drones that I want, and it's fairly simple to switch between all of them. It's a bit painful sometimes to rebind, but otherwise, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I think also what people appreciate is the much higher brightness of a smart controller versus what you get on an iPad or a smartphone. So that will be another big benefit.
Yeah, and the overheating, quite frankly. We have a lot of students that say, hey, my iPhone overheats when I get in especially right now in the summer, and that smart controller never overheats. So you always have that visibility because the phone dims eventually and you can't see anything. The smart controller doesn't do that. So I think it's a smart design. Anything else we missed? I mean, that was a ton of really good information. Release dates? Is there a release date maybe?
Well, there's been discussion on when we can expect the Mavic 3. Originally, it was all set for later this summer, so September into the fall, so September, October. Then there were rumors that were pushing the launch of the Mavic 3 into the next calendar year, so 2022. The latest we've heard is still it might be October, and we know from DJI that they're going to be launching at least one more product after the launch that is scheduled for September 8th. I very much hope that we're going to see a Mavic 3. I mean, when you think about it, the Mavic 2 Pro and Zoom were launched in late August of 2018. So, and in the drone industry, that's like a lifetime ago. So for a Mavic 3 to come out, yeah, it's about time. So I would set my hopes on October still at this point.
Around time for the holidays, for Black Friday, for all of that. So you know it's a hot time to release an item. Well, Haya, as always, thanks a lot for all the information. For those of you that want more information, we'll put a link down to Haya's website and the article. If you know, that's where you'll find. I have people sending me emails once in a while and say, hey, have you seen this rumor? I said, is it on Drone XL? If it's not on Drone XL, I don't believe it. So that's my one location. And you and I talk enough that I know where your information comes from, and I know it's secure. So Haya, thanks a lot. We'll see you hopefully next week, and have a great week.
Thanks for having me, and yeah, till next week.
All right, the second thing this week is Hurricane Ida, and unfortunately creating a little bit of a havoc in the southeast part of the country. if any of our students are in there, we really think about you and hope that everybody's okay. If you need any help, make sure that you reach out to us and we'll do everything that we can. But in the meantime, the FAA has posted on their Facebook page that UAS pilots that want to help have a way to do so as long as they are Part 107 certified or that they're operating under a COA, Certificate of Authorization. There's a process called the SGI process, and it's a special government interest, SGI. And the FAA basically says that if you want to help, you can submit a waiver through the SGI office. And there's a link, and we'll put the link down in the description that you can follow. So be careful. You still have to coordinate with people that are in the area. There still may be a TFR, temporary flight restriction, in some areas, especially over larger cities. So make sure that you still follow the process and work with the FAA on this. But this is kind of a shift, and this is a very welcome shift, I think, from the FAA. A couple of years ago, we had a big hurricane, kind of the same situation around the same time of year. But the FAA basically said no drones can fly, and let us do our job, and the people that are helping already, just let them do what they're doing. So this is a different approach, and I think this is kind of an interesting one and a really welcome one again from the FAA. Okay, next thing this week, pretty important. There's a lot of upcoming events, and the first one is Drone Safety Awareness Week that is going to be from September 13 to September 19. We've been working on a lot of awesome content for Drone Safety Awareness Week. It's a chance for us and for you, quite frankly, and for everyone to spread the word about drones and spread the word about how safe we can fly drones. And we all know that there's a bit of a culture in the drone industry of not always necessarily flying safely, or simply people not being aware of the rules, which personally I think is the majority of people that are doing things that are either dangerous or things that are frowned upon. I think a lot of people just don't understand the rules. So this is a chance for us and for you to put out content and help people. Go to your neighbor, talk to them about drones, and if maybe somebody just got a new drone in the neighborhood, just go help them get educated. Now, we'll be working with the FAA on these events. We'll be working on hosting an event every single day of the week from Monday through Thursday on the week of the 13th. And it's going to be called Drones After Dark. This is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's designed to be later during the day so that more people can actually watch it. And the FAA is going to have a bunch of speakers, and we're hosting this on our YouTube channel. So if you already subscribed, you'll be getting these notifications. These are going to be live events that the FAA puts on. I will be talking on one of the panels, and then they will have other people talking about a lot of different things related to drones. So that's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of that week. And then on the Thursday of that week, they're going to be hosting a live race with multi-GP. And this is super exciting. This is an FPV race that's going to be done live from multi-GP, and you'll be able to see people flying their drones, kind of like just a little race live on YouTube. And this is all going to be hosted on our YouTube channel. So extremely excited about this. I can't wait to see what comes out of this race. This is, I think, is going to be a very cool event. We also are going to be putting an event on ourselves with drone responders that we partner with for public safety. So our public safety folks join us to talk about how to use drones in the public safety world. We will have Charles Werner from Drone Responders answering questions with myself, and we have a bunch of topics lined up. That's going to be on Friday as well. And we're working with our friends at Influential Drones, Dave. We're going to be putting out a freebie, and we're still developing it and we're still working on it, but we will have a freebie available to people that they can use. And I can't say much more at this stage, but this is kind of an exciting thing. So more on that coming up very soon. The next event that's coming up is coming up next week, and we will be at UAV Expo. That is going to be in Vegas. We'll be meeting with our friends from the industry, having great discussions. We'll be also reporting on what we see at the expo. So next week we'll have a slightly different format. We'll be more than likely showing you footage from the expo after we come back, and hopefully give you, well, as always, the latest and the freshest news. This is really the only place online where you can find news that's not 2 weeks old. And The next topic this week is Pilot Institute update because, well, we have a lot going on, as you can tell. First off, we are now IACET accredited. You're going to say, what in the world is IACET? It's the International Accreditor for Continuing Education and Training. We've been working on this for a long time, and now we are finally accredited to provide continuing education credits for 2 of our courses. Our award-winning Part 107, it's not award-winning, we've never received an award, it should, but our Part 107 course and also our private pilot course are now accredited for continuing education. So make sure you reach out to us if you are in an industry that requires continuing education. We can help you. We've gone through the process. The second big news is that we are now an FAA industry member. And if you don't know what an FAA industry member, it's actually a pretty big deal. We are now working with the FAA to push safety on the airplane side of things and also safety on the drone side of things. We're actually one of 2 industry members on the UAS side of things, and I'm really proud of that. We will be working with the FAA to provide more and more content to help educate you and everybody else around. This is a title that we hold very proudly and something that we've been working on for a while, and we're really excited about this. So we are not only part of the FAST team as a FAST team rep myself and as a drone pro, but we're also industry members now. And the last piece of big update from Pilot Institute is we just issued our 30,000 trust certificate. And this has been going on since, I think, June now. And so in that short amount of time, we've issued 30,000 trust certificate, which means that 30,000 more people are flying drones out there knowing what actually the rules are. So again, this is something we're very proud of. And I think that's it. That's all I have for you this week. Next week, we'll have more news from the show and hopefully even more updates from Pilot Institute. And in the meantime, subscribe, look up for that event that we're going to have on the Drone Safety Awareness Week in 2 weeks. And I'll see you guys next week.